Hello, everyone. I am really excited to be here today, and I think it is only fitting that we start with a small fun fact about me, so we sort of get to know each other. This fun fact would be that I really do not trust my memories. And with that said, maybe neither should you. I know this statement might be puzzling, to say the least, for most of you sitting here today. However, for me, as a psychology student, this sentence has plagued my mind many times before. When I was learning about it in class, when I was even talking with my friends about it, or when I was simply thinking back to my own bizarre experiences with this extensive concept. During the psychology lessons that I've taken, I dived headfirst into how our mind works and how complex these processes of creating and retrieving these simple figments of our lives really is. Now, I would like to tell you guys that I always like to think of our memories as windows into our past. And when we look through these windows, whether we like what we see or not, we trust the images seen to be completely truthful. Unluckily for us, most of the time that is not the case. I am saying that because I have come to understand that our memories are much like Play-Doh, colorful, easily moldable pieces of clay in the hands of our environment, our time and circumstances, and even the society that surrounds us and our own emotions. Us humans, we know ourselves. We always look to adhere to different societal norms, and this human nature of ours, mixed with our emotional needs, can make huge impacts in different areas of our lives, and yes, can even impact our memories. Let's picture this. A young, impressionable middle school me telling a story to my friends. During the telling of my story, a friend of mine decided to intervene and add a few extra informations in order to make us seem cooler and like we belonged in that crowd more than we actually did at the time. Before I continue, for the sake of visual representation, I actually have here next to me 2 pieces of Play-Doh, and hopefully everyone can see them. Let's imagine that this blue piece of Play-Doh represents my original story of that event, and that this pink piece of Play-Doh compiles all of the extra information that my friend has added. Now, young me, she continued to tell this fabricated version of the story for hours and days to come, and not just that, but continued to convince herself truly that she was the cooler person in the story. By the end, I was completely enthralled. I believed it fully, and that was my reality. I did not doubt it for a second. And if you thought that I'm exaggerating when I'm saying that our emotions can impact our memory greatly, you would be very surprised to know that to this day, I have a very hard time remembering the original version of that story, as every single time I try to tell it to someone, the fake one always wins the race and makes its way first into my mind. Now, if we look back at the piece of Play-Doh I've been holding in my hand, hopefully you can see that they're now one, and that their state is quite irreversible, just like the state of my memory now is also irreversible. And the short amount of time that I've had this in my hand, which was maybe a few minutes if we really exaggerate, is the exact short amount of time that it took for my mind to take the extra information and add it to my story. It did not take much. My pure need to be seen a certain way by my peers, that is all. A few minutes and a deep hunger for the feeling of belonging. Nothing more and nothing less. Now, let's pivot away from my sob story of teenage self-discovery and social heartache and talk a bit about the more scientific aspect of memories. And more specifically, the subject of memory consolidation and reconsolidation. To put it simply for all of you, the process of consolidation refers to the movement of information from our short-term memory to our long-term memory. And reconsolidation, the simple repeat of that process every single time we come in contact with the same information, with the ultimate aim of strengthening it in our minds. A very interesting aspect about these two processes that I've been sort of hinting at throughout my speech is that although our memories seem to be stuck in their original form once they get into our long-term memory store, that is not the truth. Any intervention of certain stimuli during either of these processes can create changes still. Although they're set in stone, they're not quite. A very good example of this, and a real-world example, other than my own personal experience, would be the case of Ronald Cotton, a man who was convicted of sexual abuse by the victim, Jennifer Thompson, and he was sentenced to life in prison. However, the sentencing was completely wrong, as after 10 years of serving in prison, his sentence was overturned. That was due to the finding of the actual culprit using DNA expertise. But you may be asking yourselves, why did the witness make this mistake to begin with? Well, that was simply due to a flawed eyewitness procedure used by the police at the time. The photo of the real culprit was simply not included in the photo lineup that the witness was given for identification. Therefore, her mind naturally picked the person that resembled her abuser the most. Not just that, but another factor that played a huge role in the making of this so-called mistake was confirmation bias. After her choice, police decided to confirm her choice due to a lack of other convicts. This simple fact caused her, much like in my own story, to adopt the face of Ronald Cotton and imprint it into her memory. She could not shake it. She could feel it, relive it, and tell it to you exactly like myself, like it happened yesterday. Without a doubt, she was convinced. Nothing more. This simple mistake, once again, which did not even seem like a mistake to begin with, this time by omission, has altered someone's memory. And in this very, very unfortunate case, also a man's life. The consensus of what I wanted to say with my short speech is that our memories are extremely fragile. Much like the Play-Doh that I've shown in the beginning of my speech, they can be altered by the gentlest of touches. And all of these coincidences and seemingly innocuous things we're faced with every single day can bring into our lives an alternate reality and change the course of our relationships, of our lives overall, and even change our self-perception. And exactly like the dainty flutter of a butterfly's wings, the factors that I have mentioned can bring changes into our lives scarily easily and bring a typhoon greater than any. Thank you.
Thank you.